Addressing hip flexor tightness is something a lot of people need to focus a little more attention to. Just from that every day and being in a seated position, I mean, it's all known that we're sitting a lot more than we used to. We're not getting up and moving as much. And a lot of these office jobs, when you're sitting in a chair, it's usually not in the best position. A lot of people flying on airplanes or doing a lot of travel, driving on the road, really shortens the hip flexors. So what I want to talk about today is that traditional hip flexor stretch. So what you are doing is getting in that half kneeling position here. A lot of people are getting into this position and just aimlessly just lunging forward. That position right there, if you think about how the back hip is moving, if you think of the hip is in the socket here, as you lunge forward, the joint actually slides, or the head of the femur slides anteriorly. So a lot of that stretching you're feeling is actually the anterior joint capsule. So a good way to change that stretch and make it more effective, to take the stress off the anterior joint capsule and to put it more in the iliopsoas and the rectus femoris. If you drive that back heel into the ground here, and what you're going to try to do is, without actually moving the leg backward, extend the hip so I get a good glute contraction here. Just by doing that, the head of the femur, which would be sitting forward here, gets sucked back and centrated in the joint. So by doing that, we're getting better joint position of the hip. Backs up nice and tall, dig that back toe into the ground, squeeze the glute, pull back, and then from there we can lunge forward while that hip is in a better centrated position. So this position right here is really good for that hip flexor stretch. I mean, I feel it pretty good all through here. To make that a little more difficult, or to advance that stretch, you can rotate. So what I like to do is look over that left shoulder there to turn and rotate the body to over that front knee side. Or you can lift up, so right leg is backwards, right arm is overhead. Then engage, squeeze the glute, lunge forward, arm up, and you throw a big tilt there. Overhead and rotate. So that's a quick way just to get a little more benefit from the hip flexor stretch and stay away from that long just lunging forward motion. Really make sure on that back leg you're engaging that glute and extending the hip backwards, and that will give you a lot more benefit from the hip flexor stretch.